So, hi everyone. As Helen mentioned earlier, my name is Freya Bevan. I'm a digital learning coach with AI focus at Gloucestershire College, but I also have a real keen passion in how assistive technology can be embedded within teaching and learning, specifically for SEND learners and to close the gap, to bridge the gap in accessibility. So this presentation is just about how we are exploring how AI can be utilised as a form of assistive tech at Gloucestershire College. We're not experts by any means, but this is just what we're doing at the moment, how we're exploring it, and hopefully it can give some ideas and tips and things for everyone. So let's get going. And also, this presentation was made on Gamma, which is an AI tool, or the design was made on Gamma, but then on the theme of marrying AI and accessibility together, it was also checked for accessibility on Microsoft PowerPoint. So let's get started. Okay, so just a session overview today. So I'll be talking about how we define assistive technology at Gloucestershire College, how we've explored AI as a form of assistive technology, how we implement training on AI as a form of assistive tech with our lecturers, specifically for how it can help SEND learners. And then finally, just looking at a bit of staff feedback on that training and our future endeavours as a team. So first off, what do we mean by assistive technology? So according to GovUK, the phrase assistive technology is used to describe products or systems which support and assist individuals with disabilities, restricted mobility, or other impairments to perform functions that might otherwise be difficult or impossible. So that is the definition on paper, but it is so much more than just a definition, as we know. You can have, for instance, low-tech assistive technology, which are things that like for instance, coloured overlays, pen grips, it could be digital visual timers, things like that, and also your high-tech assistive technology. For the sake of this presentation, I'll be looking at that high-tech assistive tech. So that means things like, your applications or websites and how they can be utilised as a form of assistive tech. However, assistive technology, it is a very broad term, as we're aware, and it can depend very much how it is used and utilised, very much depends on the provision of learners you have at your institution. So, here we go. So just talking a little bit about Gloucestershire College and our learners that we have. So Gloucestershire College is a massive college across 3 mainstream campuses. We have Gloucester campus, Cheltenham campus, and Cinderford campus. And within each of those mainstream campuses, we have various EHCP learners with SEND or SEND needs. And this is continuing to grow as well every single year. But not only do we have these EHCP learners with SENDs within our mainstream campuses, but we also have specialist provisions. For instance, Harbour House in Gloucester, as well as Steam Mills in Cinderford. They both have learners with severe learning difficulties, all of which are EHCP learners. And also we have our foundation studies provision in Cheltenham, which is composed of learners with moderate learning difficulties. So we have a real vast range of learners at Gloucestershire College that have very different needs. Oh, I think my screen's gone black. Has it gone black for everyone?
Well, it has, yeah.
Yeah, that's strange.
Do you want to... Oh,
that's
it's back.
Weird. Sorry about that, everyone. Technical. But yes, so it's a very... in terms of the student needs, it's very broad, and therefore the tools that we do explore with our learners are there to be appropriate for each provision of learners. What might be appropriate for one provision will not be for the next. So it's something that we do keep in mind. Okay, so how have we become informed as a college of how AI can be implemented as a form of assistive technology? So we have become informed in various ways, but most of which through networking, through training, and through collaboration opportunities. For instance, this very one here with Jisc's AI and FE community group, but also with Jisc's accessibility community group, as well as through Techability, which is NatSpec's assistive technology support service. They had a fantastic what was it called? A fantastic event last month, the Techability Conference, where we learned a lot of information there. And also through the Artificial Intelligence Collaboration, or AIC, which I believe is a Kirklees affiliated group, but yeah, or the Leeds Kirklees affiliated group. But if anyone would like to know a bit more about the AIC, they can get in touch with myself and I can put them in the direction of those who organise it. But basically, it's a collaboration of many FE and HE colleges that discuss how they are implementing AI usage in their teaching and learning. So we have Techability, which is the assistive technology input, AIC, which is our artificial intelligence input, as well as Jisc, which has married together lots of different ideas for us. So that's been really great to collaborate and network with these different communities, and then that has informed how we approach AI as a form of assistive tech at Gloucestershire College. Okay, so at Gloucestershire College, how have we utilised AI as a form of assistive tech? So it can be utilised in many ways, but what we have noticed is that from assistive tech to AI, you can see how many assistive technology tools now have AI embedded within them, which they previously didn't have before. For instance, with Grammarly's Open Assistant. So this is something that is new and we've noticed has become embedded within pre-existing assistive technology systems. But also AI itself could be used as a form of assistive tech, for instance, through the use of LLMs, large language models such as Copilot. We find that although not initially created as a form of assistive technology, they can certainly be utilised that way. Okay, so AI being embedded within assistive technology. So I mentioned previously you have Grammarly, which now has an open AI assistant option, which offers suggestions for changing the tone of text, for instance, of your text. But we've also explored Microsoft Seeing AI, which is an application that by Microsoft that was created for visually impaired users that now has an Ask Seeing AI option, which further demonstrates and explains what can be seen through images being taken. Canva for Education as well is a really great tool that, although initially it isn't an assistive technology tool, we have found that it is a very great tool for our learners with SENS for streamlining ideas and exploring and expressing themselves through different AI tools. For instance, you now have Magic Write, but then you have the more complex AI tools such as Canva Code. So it offers lots of options for exploring AI in a safe and concrete way. So on the opposite side, AI is a form of assistive technology through large language models such as ChatGPT or Copilot. So last year, the team did a GC student AI usage survey, and we had 468 responses from our learners. Of those 468 responses, we found that 214 students said that of all the AI tools, ChatGPT is the one most used. So from this data collected, it's safe to say that LLMs are widely used within college by our learners. And from this, it's then important to explore how they can then be used and utilised as a form of assistive technology. So that could be, for instance, these are just some examples I put down, but as we know, there are many, many ways that it can be utilised, such as simplifying complex content for the reading level of the learner, creating study plans to perhaps help learners with executive dysfunction that struggle with their time management, for instance, providing alternative explanations for learners that just need that further breaking down and understanding of complex language, and also giving instant feedback where they might not have it available readily. But these are just some ways it can be utilised, but there are many, many more that are there to be explored, and we have encouraged exploration of use within college. Okay. Oh, one moment. Okay. So going back to the survey that we did last summer, this is just a screenshot of one of the responses that we had from our learners. So the question was, what do you use AI tools to support you with? And we found that there was a real range of different responses, but the highest number, or a high number of learners said that they use AI tools for assignment work. With this in mind, it is very important, as we know, that learners do practice AI literacy and that they are aware of the ethical the ethical implications of AI use. So because of this, well, not only because of this, but we have, as a team, myself and my two colleagues, we have encouraged and explored how AI literacy could then be encouraged with our learners. So we have put in place an AI enrichment program for our learners, and this is something that is ongoing, and it will be continuously throughout the academic year across our many campuses. But we've also increased awareness of AI literacy through our student college landing pages. But this is something that, as a college, we are still continuing to promote and explore. So this, I thought, was just something important to mention. So, okay. Okay, so just going to some tools that we have demonstrated and supported learners with. So for instance, Adobe Firefly is one tool that we have explored specifically for our arts and media students to use and find alternative forms of creative self-expression, as well as Canva for Education, as mentioned before, where it can really, through the Magic Write tool, for instance, it can really change the reading level for those learners to whatever is appropriate for them. Goblin tools as well, which is, I'm such a massive fan of Goblin tools. I think I mention it all the time, but I would say it's like a Swiss Army knife of AI tools, tools within tools, that has lots of different uses. For instance, task simplification, but also understanding the tone of text, which might be useful for learners that might just struggle with understanding that underlying meaning and tone behind language. Also many Microsoft tools, but as I previously mentioned, Microsoft Seeing AI, which is a very useful tool for students with visual impairments, and we found it's a very useful tool for giving narrations for the outside world for learners that are visually impaired, so that they can understand and feel more included as well in what they're experiencing in the classroom. So this is just a handful of tools that we have explored. We have explored many others, but the reason why I've mentioned these four specifically is because, if I go into our next slide, is that it's important, like as a college, we do have a strict approach to AI implementation and making sure that all the tools that we promote to our learners are safe to use ethically, and that so that they are safe to use. So we have an AI governance committee within college, which is made up of head of business intelligence, data management, and so on, as well as head of digital learning, who's my manager. And it's really important that we've had this committee because it's then made us aware of what tools are safe for our learners to use, particularly, for instance, SEN learners, and some of our SEN learners that are just happy to add whatever applications that they have, but they just need that additional literacy around usage. I attended one committee meeting just to go over the use of Goblin tools as a form of assistive tech for our SEN learners, and that was something that we did explore together. Okay, so going through how we promote training of these different tools. So generally speaking, as a team, as a digital learning team, myself and my colleagues, we implement the train the trainer model. So this means, for instance, first of all, training our staff, our teaching staff or our support staff, such as our learning support assistants and SEND intervention mentors, on how to best implement and use these tools, how best to promote and guide our SEN learners into using them in the most effective way possible for them. So we've started at that top tier with training our staff, and then the idea is then that they cascade that knowledge down to their learners through demonstrating tools within the classroom. This then empowers our learners to gain independence and use those tools independently and at whatever level they so wish, and just to use them in a way that best suits them individually. So this is one way that we have promoted these tools, is through this train the trainer model. So implementing the training, we've done so through workshops such as our professional development days. We recently had one on accessibility tools, as well as assistive technology tools for SEN learners, which was a great success, I think. And we also have one-to-one staff training, coaching with staff that might have very specific queries about different assistive technology tools and how to implement them. That's also included maybe visiting them in the classroom and seeing if any additional support is needed with that learner using them. Also interdepartmental workshops and demonstrations, so just showing to the whole group how this tool can be utilised and giving ideas. And finally, through updates on our staff SharePoint page, so giving them updates on college approved tools and how to use them effectively in the classroom to promote accessibility within the classroom. Okay, I'll also mention as well as this train the trainer model, we've also started exploring how to train students initially. For instance, I've been creating a series of workshops with learners on how to use Canva for Education with our SEN provision at Harbour House, and also how to use AI effectively in a way that best suits them and their workloads and their personal projects. Okay, so just some feedback from our training. So from our last professional development day, we did a Microsoft form questionnaire at the beginning and at the end of our workshops, and we found there was a 70% rise in confidence in using AI as a form of assistive technology, as well as using different accessibility tools on differing devices, which was just a fantastic growth, I believe. And then also, I just thought this was a lovely testimonial that one staff member mentioned. They said that when asked what is one key takeaway from the workshop, they stated that there is so much out there that our learners can access to make their life so much easier, and they can take these skills onto their next adventure, which I believe just wraps up everything we're doing in a nice red bow. I think it's just a lovely message there, because that's why we're doing all of this, really. Okay. All right. So looking ahead and our future plans as a college. So we would like to continue to expand our knowledge of AI as a form of assistive technology. That is, for instance, through those networking opportunities, through training opportunities, collaboration, perhaps, also with Jisc, through staff training, so that continuous cascading of knowledge, continuous workshopping and training of different departments through the train the trainer model. And also, and I think most importantly, to work closer with SEND learners to understand more so about their needs and what they would like to learn more and what they would like to explore more and what would benefit them most by using AI as a form of assistive technology, because this is something that we are still exploring ourselves. But yes, this is something definitely that I think is very exciting and is a good, keen focus of us this year, particularly as I mentioned with my Canva for Education project I'm doing with our Harbour House learners, which is a very exciting project because not often do we get that immediate insight and input from our learners immediately. Ooh. Okay, so I just had some final questions. So I've talked a bit about how, as a college, we are looking into how AI can be used as a form of assistive technology. We are still very much in the learning process as a college. We're still exploring things. So it would be great to know what your institutions are doing to implement AI specifically as a form of assistive tech, what your the processes for the college, what tools have worked well and what challenges have you encountered as well. And there's just some final information about me.